Hey fellas, well, I know that the new Switch model just got unveiled earlier today, and I'll be excited about how that later, but as well as maybe a potential whole other video on it, depending how I feel. But for now, how it's not going to affect what I talk about today. Hey, talk about the latest one to join the roster of Smash Bros. Ultimate. So I'm very eager to talk about this. So let's talk about my thoughts on Kazuya in Smash. Now, as I may have mentioned this before, but but because of Basement again, I'm actually quite the big Tekken fan, and as someone who has played the arcade games as well as their console ports extensively in the past, as I think this was actually my most wanted fighter. Well, maybe not college specifically, but anyone from that series of Soul Calibur, given how Bandai Namco, who co-developed this game, also has experience of fighting games from those series. And wouldn't you know it, both Sakurai, not only Sakurai, also a fan, but also he's on very good terms with the director for the Tekken series, Katsuhiro Harada. And while Tekken Cross Street Fighter may have now been officially canceled, they only got about 30% of that game developed before they pulled the plug, with the device reception to Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which actually was pretty decent despite the controversy over its on its DLC, all things considered. Heard, heard. So, but in hindsight, I don't see this as losing that game so much as gaining this fighter. I mean, I was hoping for my favorite character, Jin Kazama, or my brother's favorite character is King, and the wrestler has the leopard mask on, but honestly, between the newest Mii fighters as well as the fighter candidates here, in terms of recognition and for both fans and non-fans, Kazuya honestly made the most sense to me. So yeah, this whole debate on whether or not this constitutes a fighting game, I would easily answer yes, and actually I'm surprised we're even having this debate because if the objective is to defeat your opponents and in close combat, then it qualifies as whether it's 1-on-1, 1-on-5, or 1-on-hundreds. It's mean so, but admittedly, the two series are very different skill sets. But like how you wouldn't play Street Fighter the same way you would Mortal Kombat, or why you wouldn't play Virtua Fighter the same way you would something like say Power Stone on either. So, and but they actually did a really good job of adapting Kazuya's movesets to who the Smash Bros. Ones, both in like the regular attacks as well as like the special move triggers. Hers like the whole Devil Kazuya Final Smash. They're and I like how he also stressed making something simple. It's not the same as making it easy. Where even if you're whether or not you've never played a Tekken game in your life, or you're someone like me who has played a close to every main Tekken game, both on consoles and in arcades, it's definitely something you're definitely gonna have a good time with this character. I mean, do you know what I mean? I also like the variety of tracks I had. 39 music tracks from the entire history of the franchise so far, including some new mixes specifically for Smash Brothers, and the Mishima Dojo stage is just fantastic. I can honestly say that this more than makes up for my feelings towards Pyramid earlier this year here, and it's easily joined the ranks of one of my favorite fighters of this past and of this game so far. Yes. Of course, first we have a new selection of Mii costumes, to go along with Street Fighter as the most recent Sakurai Presents presentation, and with the Dragonborn, aka the Dovahkiin from Skyrim. I could have gone either way about that, but I acknowledge that Microsoft's purchase of Bethesda has kind of complicated any further Bethesda reps. I I think the merger happened in the next phase of development. And to me, like the whole deluxe one of like the Vault Boy from Fallout, how it's kind of managed to escape that fate. I mean, which actually kind of also sets a precedent if they decide to include like the Doomslayer or Doom Guy or whatever however they end up calling him, if they even include him at all as a Mii costume rather than a full-on fighter. I mean, by the same token, and though I have mixed feelings towards Shantae getting a Mii costume, whom I honestly understand why, because at least much like the way they handled Sans, Sans a character, as well as Cuphead, the character is enough of a sort of like a mini major, her given how in the 19 years since the game was released on Game Boy Color, although she's definitely become gained her audience so much that she's basically become WayForward's mascot, arguably. And I like how that's really good mention Burning Town music as well. I mean, for this half genie hero in Mii costume form. Yeah. As for Dante, I stated before, I could have gone either way, even as someone who stated that I didn't want them in this game. But with this in mind, at the very least, I can say that I mean, given how the character's been in all those Marvel's or Capcom games, it's not like you don't have many options for fighting games that feature his character. Maybe it's because I'm a way bigger Tekken fan than Devil May Cry fan, but count your blessings at least. At least it's not the DMC version, which made an infamous PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale. Also, because a decade later, no one's calling that version of character an All-Star by any means, which does make things interesting for the last fighter. I mean, whether it's going to be someone like Crash Bandicoot or Master Chief. I mean, I could go either way. Hey, I mean, given how, again, I think the companies had to clear them, and given how, again, Crash was in PlayStation else, just Battle Royale, nor was Spyro. The game came out well before Skylanders HD remasters of the original games. I had experienced those toys of Bob being reassigned to called Warzone, and that's like COD, Call of Duty, not the fish. But because I was kind of hoping that, given how much good a job they did with Crash 4, I mean the actual one, that the actual first three games that disregards the events of the other sequels are made without how the involvement of the original developers, hers, as well as featuring like the time travel mechanic from my favorite one of those ones, Warped, which is only my favorite PS1 game of all time. Yeah. So I was hoping they would do a full Spyro in that vein, which disregarded most of the installments made after her Year of the Dragon, which again were done without the involvement of the developers. So, and as for Master Chief, if it could be interesting to see how that plays out, given how in general, Halo hasn't much fighting game representation or much presence on Nintendo's consoles at all. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Microsoft and Nintendo being more friendly terms than they used to, but we'll see where that goes. Reportedly, they vetoed the idea of having Game Pass and xCloud on their system, since Microsoft apparently wants to get that service in any platform that will have it. I mean, heck, they actually finally managed to broker a way to get it on my OS for both my computer and my phone via a browser, but still. Plus, apart from because the rumored spin-offs that had for Game Boy Advance were going to make Game Boy Advance DS never materialized, and in general, it hasn't had much presence outside fighting games outside of the Spartan 458, and the Xbox ports to Live 4, so there's that. And Min Min is getting an amiibo next year, which makes sense to me given the current situation and also just how crazy it's been. And I mean, and for me, because I am still searching for both the for ones of Snake and Incineroar, as well as the other ones, the first fighter pass, and I'm especially looking for Ridley as well, since like the King K. Rool was a backup up when and Ridley was out of stock, and I am this close to importing Medium 1 from Japan or Europe, given how they're not region locked, and they're actually charging less to import that figurine than the Gauge Nova US one. It's bananas, man. As mean as and given how I'm also that's why I'm mainly focusing on paying off the HD remaster Skyward Sword on its own as the game. Then I can worry about finding like the Joy-Cons and the Loftwing Amiibo later. Hopefully, I mean, I'm anticipating they might have to do another printing, given how that's basically what they had to do with like the Guardians. But with the release of Age of Calamity, there was justification doing that. I mean, and I think one reason why that line's managed to survive, where other Toys of Life series are functionally dead, is due to the fact that one, they do different things with each game they're tied with, and two, they have a history with linked to Nintendo's earlier history because they didn't start making video games, started making toys and traditional games in the 19th century Japan. Heck, you can still order Hanafuda cards they used to make if you know where to go. So, anyway, and one brief aside about this the Switch OLED model is what they're calling it. So, not the Switch Pro, Super Switch, or new Switch even, at least not yet. To me, it's not quite what I was expecting, not quite what I was expecting, but just got enough features that would basically would make it at least make me want one. Like there's the dock has Ethernet port for wider connection, which is good, which is more stable than my Wi-Fi is often sometimes. There's the that the screen is physically larger and OLED. I mean, it does indeed have longer battery life than the model I've got. In portable mode, about 4.5 to 9 hours. Which is at least what I can get from my 3DS, or even back in the regular DS, when my Game Boy Advance SP used to have more storage capacity and better audio, though other features are to be determined, and it's also going to be launching this October at about $350, so which is a bit more than the basic Switch or Switch Lite, but also less than, or even the Xbox Series X, but also less than Xbox Series X or both models of PS5. So I don't know about right when it launches, but definitely hey, when with Christmas, my 30th birthday is one of my graduation incoming from college. It's definitely something I am very much interested in, especially given how, even if it's just like simulation, the fact that it can we get a little bit more of both Splatoon 3 and Crumble and Diamond Shining Pearl, which are missing action from E3. It's very good to know. I might do another video on the subject, but I might not. We shall see. That's what I'll say for now. I look forward to talking about the last fighter this past later this year. So, see ya.